No matter who you are, you will have haters. John 15 verse 18 says, if the world hates you, know that it hated Jesus first. So if you have haters, know that God is greater than your haters. Lately you've been feeling the weight of your haters coming at you with their envy and their hate, scheming against you, throwing mud on your name. But God's gonna work it out despite their lies and game. God is greater, so much greater than your haters. God is greater, don't give up, it'll pay off later. God is greater, through the pain you're a giant slayer.
The thing that a person criticizes you the most about is very often the thing that they are most insecure about within themselves. But before we get into today's topic, I want to tell you about the mug that I am drinking out of. Today, I am drinking out of the Rise Above the Haters mug as a reminder to stay focused on what really matters and to not give my energy or my attention to the haters. And sometimes we need those reminders because we can get so caught up in focusing on who doesn't like us, who doesn't want to see us win, who has something negative to say, that is taking time and attention from the things that we need to be focusing on to better our lives and to do the things that bring us peace, joy, and happiness. If you have one of my inspirational mugs, hoodies, t-shirts, or one of my books, which one do you have and how did it help you grow? How did it benefit you? And did you pass it on to a friend? Let us know in the comments section and let other folks know. So we're talking about people who criticize you the most, and I'm talking about toxic criticism. I'm not talking about you ask for feedback and an individual is giving you helpful feedback. I'm not talking about a situation where your supervisor has to evaluate your work because there's a performance appraisal that happens once a year at your job, and that is your supervisor's job to let you know what you're doing well and what you need to improve upon. I'm talking about that person who is very toxic and they're always looking for something to criticize other people about. And whenever you're around them, the conversation is always very critical, very negative. It's always full of put downs and bringing you down. And you may begin to think that there's something inherently wrong with you if you are not mindful and vigilant, right? The enemy, he is like a roaring lion. Satan is like a roaring lion seeking whom he can devour. So even though it feels personal, it's not even personal, right? The enemy is seeking whomever. That's eeny, meeny, miny, mo. It's your turn today, my turn tomorrow. And oftentimes he uses other people, challenging situations, and even our own thoughts and attitude to devour the things that exclusively belong to us, like our peace of mind, our emotional stability, our joy, our personal fulfillment, our focus. So be mindful of that when you are around someone who is constantly coming for your confidence by way of toxic criticism. And what I have found is that oftentimes the very thing that they criticize you the most about is the very thing that they are struggling with themselves in terms of a deep-seated insecurity. And they may never let you know this. They may not even be self-aware enough to know this if they don't have strong emotional intelligence skills and they don't take the time to do inner reflection. They might not even realize this within themselves. If we don't take the things that we struggle with to the altar, oftentimes we won't even be aware, right? But as the believer, we are not supposed to be ignorant of the enemy's devices. The scriptures let us know not to be ignorant of the enemy's devices. And one of the devices is keeping us in the dark, right? Darkness is absence of light, absence of knowledge, absence of wisdom, absence of understanding. So when you find yourself in a situation, let's say someone comes at the way that you look, then that lets you know that they have a deep insecurity around the way they look. Now, this may baffle your mind if the person is conventionally what other people would consider attractive. You might be saying, well, how can they be insecure about the way they look and this person is pretty, this person is handsome. That means nothing. Just because you are conventionally attractive doesn't mean that you like who you are, that you feel you are beautiful inside and out, that you accept who you are. There are people who are attractive, and when they look in the mirror, they pick themselves apart mentally and emotionally. They'll never let you know that. And so because they feel like crap on the inside, you got to remember that misery loves company. And so you'll even see this in your comment section where they'll come for your hairstyle. They'll come for anything that they can find. They'll come for your earrings. They'll come for something physically about you because they're feeling so bad on the inside that they want other people to look in the comments and feel just as bad about themselves. Particularly if you're a content creator, this is why you have to have a thick skin, and you have to be armored up in the Lord. And we actually talk about this in my Rise Above the Haters journal. In one of our chapters, it's all about developing a thick skin through putting on the whole armor of God. And if you don't have the journal, I would definitely encourage you to pick the journal up. So do understand that if they're criticizing you about your level of success, it is because they are insecure about their level of success, even if they're more successful than you conventionally, meaning that they have more money, more status. That doesn't mean they're happier than you, and it doesn't really mean they're more successful. It means they have the appearance of greater success. Never forget, in the Bible, that King Saul was conventionally more successful than David if you measure success in terms of prestige, influence, and wealth. But David had the favor of God on his life, so David had true, authentic success. He had higher success than than Saul, to the point where when Saul came home from war, thousands of people cheered for him. But when David came home from war, it's noted in the Bible that the people basically had a party. They came out in droves, hundreds of thousands of people cheering his name, singing songs. And David became very envious to the point where he says, what more does he want, my throne? And so Saul is the king. Saul is wealthy. Saul basically is David's boss, right? Because he's the king. David is employed by him in the army. And yet he is so threatened by the love that people have for David. Saul is threatened by the love that people have for David. And so this is why you can't write off the possibility that somebody can have what looks like and appears to be more than you financially, more than you educationally, more than you status-wise, more than you in another area where you may give a lot of prominence to, not realizing that just because they seemingly have more than you doesn't mean they're content and satisfied and secure on the inside, while you have the favor of God and you know how to be content in all things, right? And so you're walking a different path. And so do know that when somebody is looking for any little flaw, any little thing that they can do to cut you down to size, do know that that comes from a place of insecurity, and the very thing that they constantly cut you down about, you better believe that that is the very thing that they're secure about. Now, they're going to never admit this to you, and there will be people in the comments that will try to fight on this. Pay that no mind. Pay that no mind, because the hit dog is always going to holler. So you will have instances where a person is trying to act like they are being helpful, but in reality, they're very insecure in that particular area. This is why you can't give a lot of credence to people who are toxically critical. You have to keep moving forward towards the things that God has for you in this season of your life, despite what the critics think. Because here's the thing about your calling, whatever you were called to do in this season of your life. When God called you to do whatever he anointed and called you to do, it was not a conference call. God did not confer with your haters about what you should do with your life. God did not confer with your parents about what you should do with your life. God did not confer with your co-workers, your frenemies, and your friends about what you should do with your life. God is God all by himself. God is the Alpha and the Omega all by himself. God is the potter, the human being is the clay. The problem is you got a lot of wannabe critics who think that they are the potter, when in fact the scriptures let us know that God is the potter, the human being is the clay. So here's what Matthew 7 verse 3 says to put everything into perspective in terms of what we're talking about today. And it says, why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your neighbor's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own? Now, if this don't say it all, you might hear some noise in the background. They're doing some sort of construction, but we're going to push through. So think about people who want to look at the speck of sawdust. They're looking for a speck of a flaw to find in you. They're looking for a speck to say, oh, I don't like your hair. They're looking for a speck to say, oh, you need to be doing this. But they're not doing it. They need to, they look at you and say, oh, so they're looking for the speck, but they got a whole 2x4 wooden board hanging out their own eye. Now, think about the analogy used here. You got a speck of sawdust. I got a speck of sawdust. A person is highlighting and overly fixated on the speck of sawdust, and they have a 2x4. Now, if you had a 2x4 coming out your eye, you would not be able to see. This is why they can't see themselves. They see themselves through fake rose-colored glasses, but really they don't see themselves like that when their head hits the pillow when they're by themselves. They put on a front. So think about it. You got a wooden plank in your eye, it would disable you. You would not be able to see. This is why they can't even see themselves clearly. This is why haters can't see when they're spitting vitriol, when they're being negative, that it only proves how miserable and envious they are. They think they're hurting you, but when in fact they are hurting themselves. Imagine the insanity of hate following. You claim to hate somebody, but the minute their posts come up, you can't stay away from their page. That is not a healthy mindset. That is not a healthy emotional state to be in. And so this is where we need a little compassion for our haters, to pray for our haters, right? The Bible says to pray for those who persecute you. So we can pray for our haters. Now, we don't need to keep them in our inner circle. You don't need to stay with haters. You need to come out from among them, right? You don't need to be around people you are not equally yoked with, right? But you can pray from them from a distance. Pray for them from a distance. So do know that you're going to have people who are going to look at the speck of sawdust in your eye, but pay no attention to the plank in their own. They want to give you all the unsolicited advice, but they're not doing anything of any real value in their own life. This is why it is very time-wasting to go back and forth with a hater. You've got too much to do. Do not respond to the hateful comments. Block and delete. That is what your community, you are the leader of your community, and you want to be responsible. You don't need to be going back and forth, and the people watching you don't need to see that behavior out of you. So it doesn't matter how they feel about what it is you're doing. They are not God in your life. That means you don't answer to them. And if you really don't answer to them, then you're not going to answer them, not even in the comment section. So these are some of the things that you want to keep in mind when you are under the gun of other people's criticism, so that you don't take it to heart and it doesn't crush your confidence or affect your self-esteem in the slightest. And I would recommend the minute you start reading something that seems to be toxic and you get it says, don't even finish reading it. Just delete it. Just delete and block, so that you can focus on the things that God has for you in this season. And do know the very thing that person is criticizing you about the hardest, that is what they are most insecure about, no matter what they try to gaslight or game you to believe. They are insecure at the core, because when you are secure, when you are vibrating at a high level, when you are flowing in the glow of the love of God, you ain't got time to be criticizing people, because you are too busy enjoying life. You are too busy growing in the fruit of the Spirit. You are too busy spreading love, spreading joy, spreading kindness, and spreading compassion that you don't have time to engage in the negativity because it brings your mood, your mindset, your emotional energy down, and you need your emotional energy, your mindset, and a positive mood for your creativity, for your productivity, for your fruitfulness. So I hope you find this helpful for those of you who are dealing with a chronic toxic critic. Do know that the very thing they're criticizing you about, I don't care what it looks like on the outside, they are insecure. Even a braggart, a person who's constantly bragging about how much they have, oftentimes that stems from the fear of losing what they have, the need to feel better than other people, or this is going to be rough, this is going to offend people, so I want to warn you if you need to unsubscribe. Or they never had nothing, because when you've never had nothing and you finally get something and you don't have gratitude, right? But instead of having an attitude of gratitude for the new level in your life, the new thing, God bless you, your mindset is, I'm going to stun on them and I'm going to ish on them, then that says a lot about where you are mentally and emotionally, as opposed to, I'm so grateful that I'm not in the struggle anymore. I'm so grateful that God has blessed me with whatever he has blessed you with, a new measure of wealth. And I want to do my part to be a blessing because I'm blessed to be a blessing. You're not going to be thinking about, I'm going to stun on this one and stun on that one, because you're too busy basking in the glow of your blessings to hold that type of malice in your heart. And y'all may not like what I'm saying. That's okay. I'm not here to be liked. I'm here to do what God has called me to do. So with that being said, I want to let you know about the Rise Above the Haters Challenge. We are starting a challenge. It's a summer challenge. It's not, well, technically it's going to start before summer, but we're starting June 1st. It's a 12-week challenge starting June 1st. And it is a challenge to rise above the haters, working from my journal, Rise Above the Haters. And I'll leave the link in the video description box that goes through the tips for the challenge. And so it's real easy if you want to participate in the Rise Above the Haters 12-week challenge. We're kicking off on June 1st. So look for the instructional video that'll be out in a day or two that will let you know more details about the challenge. And so what you would do is you're going to download and print the free Rise Above the Haters 12-week tip sheet. It's on my website. And again, the link is in the video description box so that you can print it. That's step number one. Step number two, and this begins again June 1st, 2024. You're going to document your journey. So what I'm asking folks to do is make a short video of yourself each week of this challenge, sharing one thing you've learned about rising above haters from my Rising Above the Haters journal, or you can share one story time video with one piece of uplifting advice encouraging others to rise above the haters based on your own experience of rising above the haters, right? That's step number two. You're going to be posting your video on TikTok, Instagram, or whatever social media platforms you're on. You're going to tag me. You can tag me on TikTok. I am now back on Instagram. This is a brand new channel, so my old channel was completely deleted, so I'm starting from scratch. So you can tag me on TikTok, Instagram, or if you're in our Facebook group, and you will use the hashtags Rise Above the Haters. That's hashtag 1. The second hashtag is Be Greater Than Your Haters. And the third hashtag is CassandраMack. This way, everyone who is taking the Rise Above the Haters challenge can find each other's videos and learn from everybody's experience. So there's someone who's going to need to hear your story, and you're doing this once a week. There are 12 chapters in the Rise Above the Haters journal, and so it is going to be a 12-week challenge, and each week of the challenge you're sharing one thing that you have learned from a particular chapter in the Rise Above the Haters journal, and one piece of advice that you would give to somebody else who's really feeling down and bummed out because they're dealing with haters and it's getting under their skin. It's starting to really, crush their confidence. How would you encourage them? What advice would you give them to keep going? Right? So you're going to do that real short videos, 1-2 minute video, 3-minute video. Step 3, invite a friend. So if you have a friend who complains that they're dealing with a hater and it's getting to them, it's starting to affect their mental and their emotional, or you got a family member, maybe you got a younger niece, younger nephew, a college age student, that invite them. Number 4, make sure to pick up the journal, Rise Above the Haters, on Amazon. The link is in the video description box so that you have all of the journaling prompts, the lessons that you need to successfully rise above the haters and become what I call hater proof. Step 5, get the song. We got a song to go with it, Greater Than Your Haters, and play it every morning when you wake up during this challenge so we could get our heart, mind, and attitude prepared to keep on rising, keep on shining, and keep on thriving despite who doesn't want to see you win, despite that. And then for those of you who would like to dive deeper in your Rise Above the Haters journey beyond the independent challenge that we're doing in terms of posting videos, if you want to gain more clarity, gain more direction, you can always join our Wednesday Wellness Club through my YouTube channel membership. Make sure to join at the 2nd tier because that gives you access to the Wednesday Wellness Club. And you will also get access to the videos that I'm going to be doing. We're going to have journaling videos around rising above the haters starting in the summertime. So if you want access to that, make sure to become a member at the 2nd tier. So again, the link for the challenge will be in the video description box. We start June 1st. So please make sure to go out and get the book because you need the book to participate in the challenge because you'll be making videos based on one thing that you have got from, one thing you've learned from the book. So with that being said, have an amazing day. Take care of yourselves and each other. And I will see you soon. Stay blessed.